Hello and happy 2020. Welcome back to my channel. This is Heather with Creativity by Heather BE. And I am so excited today to be showing you products from the Hero Arts ShopBox 2020. So this is a box that's sent to different scrapbook and stamp stores around the country. And I am lucky that one of my stamp stores that's close actually gets this. So I went down the other day and picked up some of the products and I wanted to share them with you today. So the first one is the floral tulips. And this is also, I got it with the die. So this is a smaller stamp set. It's got two beautiful little tulips and a butterfly and some great sentiments and a beautiful font. It's got happy birthday. And this is the die set that I purchased separately. And I do have a scan and cut, but I wanted the dies because of the butterflies. And I know you can draw the little lines and it'll cut, but it's just easier for me to purchase the dies. So this next set is a really great one. It is called Affirmation Messages, and I love all of these really big, bold sentiments. And actually, I'm going to show you two cards that I created with these products, and I really wish on the second card I would have used that hello, and I may actually go back and do another one and use that hello stamp. I honestly forgot I even had the stamp set. So this next one is a fancy die, and this is Window on the Garden. And honestly, this is not probably a die I would have picked up, but they had a sample, and it was just so simple and elegant, and I am going to use that in my second card as well. So we are in the new year and coming up on spring and new things coming up, and citrus is always so much fun. So this set is called Zest Wishes, which I just think is so cute. And it's got all kinds of really fun, uplifting sentiments. You've got a little tree branch, you've got lemons, flowers, leaves, and I am going to use the next product I'm going to show you along with this, and I'm going to turn the stamp up in the top right hand corner, not into a lemon, but into an orange. So this is the bold background, and this is called Fresh Citrus Bold Prints. This is one of Hero Arts' great rubber backgrounds stamps, and I love background stamps. There's so much that you can do with it. And what I'm going to do on the card I'm going to show you today with this is I'm actually going to use some Zig roll brush markers. There was also a stencil, which I am a sucker for stencils. They are very inexpensive. There's so many things that you can do with stencils, and this one was just gorgeous. This is called the Spring Stencil, just so cute. And this set caught my eye immediately. This is a very large, I believe it's a 6x8 set, and this is called Wish Big Peekaboo Parts. So you've got this stamp background of, it's all birthdays, and then you've got all the little pieces that will peek out behind a peekaboo die. And Hero Arts has several of these dies. Unfortunately, the one that went with this set, my shop did not get in their box, so I wasn't able to purchase it. But as soon as these products are released, that is definitely a die I will pick up. And honestly, even without the die, there's so much you can do with these little stamps. You could create your own background. You can add them as little embellishments. You can just do so much with this stamp set, and I'm so excited to play with this one because we all need birthday cards. So those are the products. There were a few other things that my store had, and Scrap Shack Texas is the store. I have listed their hours. I know many of you are not in Texas, but if you happen to be, they are an amazing store. Carrie and her team are so great. So this is the first card that I'm going to be showing you. And I use that Zest Wishes, and also I use the Fresh Citrus Bold Print background. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get the stamp is to take that backing off, and I keep that and put it back on so then it's easy for me when I'm storing it to know what it is. And I'm going to use my Misty. Of course, you don't have to have a Misty, it's just easier for me. And I do have a foam, almost like a mouse pad in my Misty. I purchased that from Simon Says Stamp probably about a year and a half ago, and I love it. I don't have to deal with the paper. It wipes off, so I highly recommend it. And as always, I'll have the products listed below. I'm also using a Misty Corner here, and I am using Canson watercolor paper because I am going to be using my Zig Clean Color Row Brush markers. And so I'm using that Misty Corner just to elevate it a little bit because I am using a stamp that is larger than my paper, and both of my cards will be standard A2 size cards when they're done. And to ink this up, I'm going to use the Gina K Amalgam ink. I love this ink. My aunt actually got me another ink pad of it for Christmas, so I'm excited to have a backup. And I will tell you, one of the advantages of using the Misty in this situation is, or any type of stamping tool, is because it's watercolor paper, which means it's got a texture to it. So I edited out about 3 different times of stamping and inking and stamping this, just so you didn't have to sit through that. But just full transparency, I did have to go in and do this several times because of the texture. So I'm going to take that up off of my Misty, and I do put a little bit of tape runner on the back just to hold it in place because I know I'm going to have to do it several times. And I take my anti-static powder bag, run it over it, and it gets rid of all of that sticky. So I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to have one strip of this panel that was in black and white, and then have the rest be in that colored or watercolor. So I took a piece of the wider purple tape and just put it across one side, leaving a little bit of an edge. And then once I'm done with the watercoloring, then I'll pull that up and I'll kind of have that little bit of interest as part of it being black and white. I just thought it was something simple and easy to do. So as far as the watercoloring goes, I am using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I do have the 48 set. These come in many different sets. You can get them individually. They come in 80, 24, 36, 60, 12. And I love them. They're not something I really pull out and use, honestly, often enough because I just forget that I have them because they're not near my desk accessible. But I thought this would be a really great panel to do some watercoloring on. And I am by no stretch of the imagination an expert or anywhere near close to it when it comes to using these markers. I just go in and have fun with it. And that's what I highly encourage you to do. So I am going to show you how I do the 2 of the lemons. And then I'm going to add some extra embellishments from the Zest Wishes set, and I will show you how I do the orange and the flowers as well. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm using these markers is I don't use a water brush that has water in it, and if it does, I don't use it. I like to just take the marker and outline where I think kind of my shadows will be. And then I have a cup of water, which is what that kind of greenish blue ring is up on the top right-hand corner. And I just dip a regular paintbrush into it and kind of pull it out from there. And that seems to be the easiest way for me. And then if I need to go in and add extra, I can use the marker again. When I use a water brush, my paper gets a little too saturated. So for me, it's just easier to do it that way. And you can see where I did complete one of the oranges. And like I said, here in a moment, I'll show you how I did that. I also took a gray and went around everything because I didn't want it to be that stark white. I wanted it to have a little bit because I wanted there to be a contrast between what I'm showing you here, which is the black and white, and the colored. And I'm going back and forth because I'm trying to decide if I want to take a black pen and draw some lines. Decided when I pulled that up, I wanted some way to make that stand out even more. So what I'm going to decide to do is I'm going to use very thin strips of Lawn Fawn Fog cardstock, and I'm going to put one on each side, and that's going to kind of make that pop a little bit more along with my sentiment and the extras that I add. So I'm using a Lawn Fawn glue tube. I'll use a Gina K glue tube later on. I love them both. I just kind of whichever one I reach or grab for. And you can see, I felt like the Lawn Fawn Fog just really gave it a subtle kind of pop. It separated out from that color in black and white and really helped to kind of set that apart. So I'm going to stamp out my sentiment, and the sentiment that I'm using for this is when life gives you lemons, and on the inside, I'm going to stamp Squeeze the Day. And I am using my all-time favorite black cardstock. There is not a cardstock that I have found that is blacker than this, and I just love it. And it is the Hero Hughes Pitch Black Premium Cardstock. I did see that it is back in stock. I know around Christmas it had sold out. I am down to like 3 sheets, which is starting to cause a little bit of panic. So I will go in and order some more. I know all of us have those products, and thank goodness this one is a rather inexpensive product for me to panic about. So I'm going to do some heat embossing on it. I did lay down my anti-static powder tool just to make sure my embossing powder stays where I want it. And I'm using the Brutus Monroe embossing ink. And if you've been on my channel, you know that I love Brutus Monroe embossing ink. I also love their embossing powders, which I'm using the Alabaster White here. The reason that I love their embossing ink, if you've not been on my channel before, is because it gives you some time. It stays wet. It's an oil-based. So if you kind of get sidetracked or you don't get to the embossing, you change your mind on what color, you still have time to add it on. So I'm just going to heat set this with my Wagner heat tool. And you can see where my powder bag kind of changed the color of that pitch black cardstock. And don't worry about it, because I'm going to use another one of my favorite tools, which is the Nuvo Surface Sweep. And if you don't have this, you can use just a rag, anything. Swiffers are great for this. And I used an MFT Fishtail banner to cut that out. So I decided that I needed something around the sentiment, and I went back to the Zest Wishes stamp set, and I decided to stamp out a lemon, an orange, and one of the flowers. So here I'm going to show you how I'm going through and coloring each of these. And I already showed the lemon before, but it didn't take very long, so I figured I'd just go ahead and leave it in. Now I do have a water brush pen here, although there is not water in this one. Actually, I think there might be a little bit in it, but it wasn't enough where I used it and I didn't squeeze it at all. I'm still dipping it into my cup. I also am going to go back, and I don't think this was in the video, I think I did it off camera, but I'm going to go back and take a black gel pen and go over all of the little dots, the dots on the card or on the other panel, and just kind of brighten those up a little bit. And what I found was easiest with the oranges, because they're flat, was to do the outside, which is going to be darker, and then just take my water and pull that color into the center. Because the center of an orange is obviously going to be lighter than the outside. And so that's just the easiest way I found to do it. Is it perfect? Does it look like a real orange? No, but it was easy and I think it came out okay. So I'm just going around the edges, and I'm not worried about what I'm getting on the outside lines, because I am going to fussy cut these out. Actually, I'm going to use my scan and cut. And I'm going to cut it right up against the line, so I'm not worried about where that orange went outside the lines. And on the flowers, I decided I wanted to give a little pop of some bright colors. So I'm using, I believe it's the pink. It's just the regular pink, and I'll have the clear brush clean color brush markers listed below. And I'm just doing the same thing. I'm putting that in the center where it would have the shadows, and then just pulling that out. And I'm going to use a green for the center, but what you're going to see here in a moment is I'm actually going to use some flat back, almost like pearls, but they're not, they're gemstones. And I did not label this package, so I don't know who these are from, but I love them. I think it really, really added to the card. Just adding those few little gemstones to the center. And there you can see them. There's blue and green ones. And if I can figure out who they're from, or if you know, please comment down below. I love them, and I don't know why I didn't label it, because all of my little boxes have labels, but that one. So I decided I wanted to take those little pieces and just kind of arrange them behind the sentiment banner. And I am going to move this around for a long time. Please do not be fooled and think that because that's all I show you that I just had it the way I wanted it. I spent a lot of time moving this around. I even adhered it down, pulled it back up again. The poor little flower, it's going to get put on the banner. I am going to use some 3M foam tape to raise it up, and then I'm not going to like it. I'm going to pull it off and actually end up putting it in the front. And looking at it now on video, it does look okay behind it, but I do like it up front closer to the sentiment. And the reason is because I felt like it was a little too close to that flower that was actually in the background panel. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to move it. I am so excited to see the other products that Hero Arts has in store for us this year, because just seeing the ones that were in that shop box just made my heart flutter. There were so many amazing, and honestly, I bought most of them, but they just had some amazing things coming out this year, and I'm so excited. So I am going to cut this down and I'm going to put it on a mat of the Hero Arts Pitch Black Premium Cardstock. And I do take a thin black detail pen and go back through where the black and white stamping is and just kind of go over that and bold that up a little bit. And I'm going to stamp the inside, which is Squeeze the Day. And then this card is complete. This would be a great card that would brighten up anybody's day. I am a teacher, and so I have many teacher friends and colleagues who sometimes we just feel like we're so stressed. So I thought this would be great when life gives you lemons. Squeeze the day, because really, what else can we do? So that is card number 1. Card number 2 was so simple. And this is using the Window on the Garden Fancy die. And like I said, I typically probably would not have picked this die up, but I saw a sample, so the samples really do help us buy things. And I decided it would be something very simple to use and create some gorgeous cards. So all I did was die cut it out. Now I will say there were a lot of little pieces I had to poke through. If you have one of the rollers that gets all the die cut pieces out, that would work fabulous for this. I just have the Tim Holtz poker that I've had for years, and that works great. So because we're still kind of in winter, I wanted to add some sparkle to the back of it. So I am adding some Lawn Fawn Spring Sparkle glitter paper, and then I'm taking a Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink and using a life-changing blender brush, and I'm just going around and inking up the inside of the window. So I'm adding my purple tape to the edge just to make sure that I don't get any ink on the outside. And I will get a little bit, but I'm just going to use my my little eraser tool and use a sand eraser, and it's going to come off easily. This is the card that I really wished I had used the hello from the affirmation messages instead of the sentiment that I chose, which the sentiment that I'm going to put on here is celebrate every day, and it is a Hero Arts sentiment. But I thought that hello would have looked so cute with a little flower popping up on the H. It kind of would have tied all the flowers in together. But that's what we do. We create and we learn and we make it better next time, or not necessarily better, but the way that maybe we'd like it a little more. Whoever gets this card will never know that there's another sentiment that I thought would have looked better. So now I'm going to use some of my Gina K Connect glue, and I'm just going through and I am dotting glue all over this die cut, because I want to make sure it's going to stick to that glitter paper. And you're going to see that I'm going to get nervous about that, and I'm actually going to take some purple tape and just put on the edges of that because I want to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. So this is a sentiment stamp that I used, and I love this set from Hero Arts. It's got a happy birthday set, or a happy sentiment for just about every holiday. I also decided, because the window was rounded, I wanted to take my corner rounder punch and just make that inside white panel rounded. And I am using the Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock, or solar white cardstock, and all of my bases are Neenah Solar White 110. So I'm stamping out the celebrate every day, and of course I'm going to put that on some of the Hero Arts Hero Hues Pitch Black Premium Cardstock. That's a mouthful. And you can see there where I did take some of the purple tape because I was just so nervous that it was not going to stay. And I didn't have enough glue on it, because sometimes it's nothing with the glue, it's just hard to get stuff to stick to that glitter paper. So I'm going to remove the backing. I am going to give this some dimension with some 3M foam tape. Typically I probably would have used a piece of foam, a foam sheet, but this is probably not going to be going through the mail, so I wasn't really worried about it getting crushed. So I'm just going to add this onto my base, and that is it. Two very simple, fun cards. I sat down honestly and did both of these cards probably in about an hour and a half doing both of them, and that included all the coloring, the changing of my mind, which I do constantly when I'm making the card, as we all do. So I will definitely have other videos coming out using these products. I am so excited. I will list everything down below for when their catalog actually comes out and when these will be available. Also, if you happen to be watching this video after they're available, I will add the links for the products, obviously before they're available, which is right now, and I'm doing this video on January 5th. They are not, so I can't include the links. I did add a Hero Arts link though, so you can go check out all of their amazing products, and definitely that Hero Hues Pitch Black. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you're not a subscriber, I highly encourage you to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to click that little bell so you won't miss future ones. Thank you so much and have a great day.